What's up everybody, welcome back to Camera Exchange. So today we're going to be comparing some pretty cool lenses from the Canon RF lineup. I have the 24-70 2.8 IS, and I'm going to be comparing that against the new 28-70 2.0. And what I really want to see here is the new 28-70 worth that bigger price tag for the lower aperture, or is there more going on with the lens? So let's go find out. So now let's go ahead and talk about how it feels to handle both of these lenses. And honestly, that was one of the biggest differences I saw beside the price point of these lenses, was how much bigger the 28-70 really is when you compare it to the 24-70. It's huge. They're about the same length, and that's really about it. The 28-70 weighs about a pound more than your 24-70, so this is coming in at 3 pounds versus 2, but it's also a lot wider and a lot more front heavy, which I found to be not too much of an issue, but it just made it kind of odd to handle. So when you actually picked it up and started shooting with it, it felt like it's really kind of just trying to pull you down the whole time. Whereas when I mounted the 24-70 on the body, it felt like it just flowed a lot better. It's more evenly weighted, and I was just able to move around and actually capture shots with more ease, so to say. As far as the 28-70 goes though, I know why they made it bigger. It's because it's a 2.0 aperture. They had to let more light in. It was that simple, but it turned out to almost an awkward feeling lens, and it honestly looks a little awkward on the body, which I don't care about too much. It's more performance based, but shooting around with it just feels weird. It feels odd, especially when you zoom out. It really throws that weight forward, and it doesn't feel too great, at least not for me. It also felt kind of chunky and odd to handle, whereas the 24-70, with it being a little more streamlined and feeling a little more ergonomic, was pretty easy to handle, and I feel like it was just a lot easier to go out and shoot with, and it felt more comfortable. So if I really had to put it on one lens right now, I would probably take the 24-70 over the 28-70 as far as just the overall feel. It's just a much better feeling lens. All right, so now I want to take a minute to actually get technical with these two lenses and talk about what makes them different on the inside. So starting off with our 24-70, we have 21 elements in 15 different groups. But if we move over to the 28-70, we have 19 elements in 13 different groups, which leads me to believe that the 28-70 should be sharper, but I'm gonna go ahead and save that for later. I really wanna move on to the minimum focus of these two. And I was pretty impressed with the 28-70 having the minimum focus that it does. It's a minimum focus of 1.28 inches, which is extremely close and allows for a lot of versatility for a lot of different types of photos, which paired up really nicely with the fact that it's a low aperture 2.0 mid-range zoom. So I thought it was all pretty cool that they gave it such a low minimum focus. But I do have to say I was kind of disappointed that the 24-70 didn't share that same close focus ability. So it's coming in with a minimum focus of 8.27 inches, which I felt was, you know, it worked well, but it just didn't allow me to do a lot of the same shots I was able to get on my 28-70. So it really made a big difference for me there. But moving on to the next part, our autofocus. They both share the same autofocus drive systems. They're both running Nano USM autofocus systems, which work really well. Not only are they quiet, but they're really fast. So Canon did a great job matching that up to the EOS R line and keeping it through all of their nice RF lenses. So I'm really happy to see that. All right, so lastly, I want to talk about image stabilization. The 28-70 does not have an image stabilizer in it, which I feel like was a huge miss for Canon. But we move on to the 24-70, and it actually has a pretty impressive stabilization unit in it. It has 5 stops image stabilization, which helped me quite a bit today in those low light areas that I really just didn't want to crank the ISO up, but I still wanted that crystal clear shot. It did a pretty good job with, so I like it. I really do. All right, so now I want to start talking about the image quality. So what I noticed was the 28-70 was a fair amount sharper than the 24-70, but I was kind of expecting that due to it having less elements and the lower aperture. It just overall looked quite a bit nicer through the viewfinder. Now, the sharpness was definitely there in comparison to the 24-70. 24-70 seemed not soft, but not tack sharp, whereas the 28-70 kind of blew me away. It was very sharp. Moving on from that though, we're going to be talking about bokeh. Now, of course, the 2.0 is going to look a lot creamier than a 2.8 as far as bokeh goes. But as far as the overall bokeh, they both looked pretty similar. Then they do kind of share the same aperture system. They're both 9 blades and they're both a rounded blades. So I was kind of seeing the same thing, but just more presence with the 28-70 because it's a 2.0 versus the 2.8. So definitely a reason to go that route if you're really just looking for bokeh, tack sharp. 28-70 definitely wins in those departments, so I gotta give it to that. Now, moving on to distortion and chromatic aberration. Well, chromatic aberration I didn't see a whole lot of today. It's also a pretty cloudy day. There's really no sun shining at all, so I wasn't expecting to see a lot. So maybe in harsh conditions you'll see it. I really was not able to test it today, but overall I really didn't see any, so it was kind of nice. It looked pretty crystal clear. Now, moving on to distortion, the 24-70 had more distortion than I really thought it would at 24. It seemed to really kind of bend at the endpoints, and I wasn't too impressed with that. Whereas the 28-70 seemed to really hold it together better. Now, I was expecting it to because it's a 28 versus a 24, but there was still just ever so slightly just some bending on my endpoint. So you could really see the lines, instead of being straight up, they kind of started to tilt in just a little bit, but nothing that would really ruin a shot, and they both seem to disappear around 35. So all in all, I gotta say both lenses are rock solid, but the 28-70 definitely takes it for sharpness and bokeh. All right, so that's gonna wrap up our hands-on review and comparison over the Canon 28-70 2.0 and the 24-70 2.8. And I gotta say, both these lenses perform extremely well, and they both did a great job shooting today. Now, the 24-70 feels like it fits, right where it always has, in that general shooter, mid-range zoom. Your pros are gonna pick it up to kind of take care of all that mid-range stuff. Whereas the 28-70 seemed to be more specialized almost. While still being very versatile, it seemed to put more emphasis on your sharpness and your bokeh more than the 24-70 did. The 24-70 seemed like it really just hit versatility and kind of left it there. So I'm actually kind of at a draw. And with that, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Let me know what you think is better and what you would prefer to put in your bag. But that's gonna end the video right here. Make sure if you like the video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and show us some love there. We'll see you guys next time.